The morning sunlight filtered through the curtains as Mira adjusted her blouse over her growing baby bump. 28 weeks pregnant with her first child, she couldn't help but smile at her reflection. After 5 years of marriage to Raj, they were finally going to be parents. The journey hadn't been easy, 3 miscarriages had nearly broken her spirit, but here she was, finally in her 3rd trimester with a healthy baby girl. Ready for the checkup? Raj called from downstairs, car keys jingling in his hand. Coming. Mira carefully made her way down the stairs, one hand on the railing, the other protectively cradling her belly. Raj helped her into their sedan, a recent upgrade they'd purchased in preparation for their growing family. He seemed distracted today, checking his phone repeatedly as they drove to the hospital. Everything okay? Mira asked, noticing the slight furrow in his brow. Yeah, just work stuff, he replied, too quickly. The Johnson project is giving me headaches. Mira nodded, though something felt off. Raj had been distant lately, coming home late, taking calls in another room, being vague about his whereabouts. She'd chalked it up to stress about becoming a father, especially after their previous losses. He was probably just anxious. The waiting room at Dr. Patel's office was busy, filled with women at various stages of pregnancy. Mira flipped through a parenting magazine while Raj continued to text frantically beside her. Mira Kumar? A nurse called, and they both stood up. Dr. Patel greeted them warmly. An older woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, she had been Myra's doctor through all her pregnancies. She felt safe in her care. How are we feeling today? Dr. Patel asked as Mira lay down on the examination table. Good. The morning sickness has finally stopped. She's kicking a lot, especially at night. That's wonderful. Let's take a look at your little one. As Dr. Patel applied the cool gel to Myra's abdomen and moved the ultrasound wand across it, the room filled with the rapid thump-thump-thump of the baby's heartbeat. Mira glanced at Raj, expecting to see the same amazement she felt, but he was checking his phone again. Raj, she whispered, slightly annoyed. Put that away. Sorry, he muttered, sliding the phone into his pocket without meeting her eyes. Dr. Patel pointed to the screen. There she is. Look at that spine, those little hands, everything looks perfect. Tears welled in Myra's eyes. Every successful checkup felt like a miracle after their previous heartbreaks. After the ultrasound, Dr. Patel checked Myra's blood pressure and reviewed her latest test results. Your iron is still a bit low. I'm going to adjust your supplement dosage. She scribbled something in Myra's chart and then paused, looking between the couple with a slight frown. Before you go, I noticed something in your latest blood work that I wanted to discuss. Myra's heart dropped. Is something wrong with the baby? No, the baby is fine, Dr. Patel assured her quickly. This is about your health. You tested positive for chlamydia. The room went silent. Mira blinked, trying to process the words. But, that's an STA, right? There must be a mistake. Dr. Patel's expression was gentle but firm. The test is quite reliable. Have you had any symptoms? Burning sensation, unusual discharge? Mira shook her head, stunned. No, nothing like that. Well, the good news is it's easily treatable with antibiotics, which are safe during pregnancy. We'll start you on a course today. Mira nodded numbly, then slowly turned to look at Raj. His face had drained of color, and he wouldn't meet her eyes. Raj, she asked, her voice barely audible. Dr. Patel seemed to sense the tension. She handed Mira a prescription and some informational pamphlets. I'll give you two a moment. Mira, please see the nurse on your way out for the medication. Once the door closed behind the doctor, Mira sat up, pulling her shirt down over her belly. Raj, look at me. When he finally did, the guilt in his eyes told her everything. How could you, she whispered, feeling like she might be sick. I'm carrying your child. Mira, I can explain, he began, but she cut him off. Explain what? That you've been sleeping with someone else while I'm pregnant with our miracle baby after 3 miscarriages? Her voice rose with each word. Who is she? Raj ran his hands through his hair. It didn't mean anything. It was just a couple of times with someone from work. Who? Mira demanded. After a long pause, he said, Lisa, from accounting. Lisa. Young, blonde Lisa who had flirted with Raj at the company Christmas party. The same Lisa who had texted him late at night with work questions. Mira had suspected something then but had trusted her husband when he assured her they were just colleagues. How long? Mira asked, her hands trembling. 3 months, Raj admitted. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Raj. Tears streamed down her face now. You made choices. Over and over again, you chose her over me, over our family. Mira gathered her purse and the prescription, moving toward the door despite Raj's attempts to stop her. Mira, please. I'll end it. I made a terrible mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill or burning dinner, she replied coldly. This was a betrayal. And now I have an infection that could have harmed our baby. She walked out of the examination room, past the curious glances of other patients in the waiting area, and straight to the nurse's station. Raj followed, pleading quietly for her to calm down, to not make a scene. The drive home was silent and unbearable. Mira stared out the window, one hand resting on her belly as if to protect her daughter from this new reality. She thought of all the late nights, the secretive phone calls, the unexplained absences. How could she have been so blind? As they pulled into their driveway, Mira finally spoke. I want you to pack a bag and leave. What? Mira, be reasonable. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Go to Lisa's. Go to a hotel. Just don't be here when I get back. Get back? Where are you going? Mira reached for her phone. I'm calling my brother. Arjun had always been Myra's protector, even more so after their parents died in a car accident 10 years ago. 7 years her senior, he had put his own life on hold to raise her when she was just 18. Now a successful tech entrepreneur worth millions, Arjun lived in a penthouse downtown but was always just a phone call away. Arjun answered on the second ring. Hey, little sis. How was the appointment? The moment she heard his voice, Mira broke down. Between sobs, she managed to tell him what had happened. I'm coming to get you, Arjun said, his voice tight with anger. Don't move. And tell that bastard to stay right where he is until I get there. 30 minutes later, Arjun's sleek black SUV pulled up in front of their house. Mira had spent the time packing an overnight bag, ignoring Raja's constant pleas and explanations. When Arjun walked through the door, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. At 6'2" with broad shoulders and intense dark eyes, he was an intimidating presence even when calm. Right now, he was anything but calm. Arjun, let me explain, Raj began, but Arjun silenced him with a raised hand. Save it. My pregnant sister just found out she has an STI because you couldn't keep it in your pants. There's nothing you can say that I want to hear. He turned to Mira, his expression softening. Are you ready to go? She nodded, clutching her small suitcase. You can't just take her, Raj protested. She's my wife. We need to work this out. Arjun stepped closer to Raj, his voice dangerously low. She's my sister first. And right now, she needs space from you. This is between Mira and me, Raj insisted, though he took a step back. With all due respect, it's none of your business. You made it my business the moment you put her health at risk, Arjun replied. Now, here's what's going to happen. Mira is coming with me. You're going to give her the space she needs. And if you try to pressure her or manipulate her while she decides what she wants to do, you'll be dealing with me. And trust me, you don't want that. Raj looked to Mira, his eyes pleading. Don't do this. Don't leave like this. Think of the baby. I am thinking of the baby, Mira replied, her voice steadier now. I need time to figure out what's best for both of us. As Arjun helped her into his car, Mira couldn't help but look back at the house she and Raj had bought together just 2 years ago. The house where they'd planned to raise their children, celebrate birthdays, grow old together. Now it all felt like a lie. During the drive to Arjun's penthouse, Mira stared silently out the window, one hand resting protectively on her belly. The bright afternoon sun seemed to mock her shattered world. He doesn't deserve you, Arjun said finally, breaking the silence. He never did. Mira closed her eyes, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. I thought we were happy. After all the losses, when this pregnancy finally stuck. I thought things were perfect. None of this is your fault, Arjun assured her, reaching over to squeeze her hand. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why wasn't I enough, she whispered. Arjun had no answer for that. Instead, he said, you're going to stay with me for as long as you need. The guest room is already set up, and I can have someone bring whatever else you need from the house when you're ready. As they pulled into the underground parking of Arjun's luxury building, Mira felt a strange mix of gratitude and despair. Her brother would take care of her, he always had, but she had never imagined finding herself in this position, 29 years old, 7 months pregnant, and facing the possibility of single motherhood because her husband couldn't be faithful. In Arjun's spacious penthouse with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, Mira sat on the plush sofa while her brother made her tea. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages from Raj, which she ignored. You should block him, Arjun suggested, handing her a steaming mug. At least for now. Mira nodded tiredly. I will. I can't believe this is happening. Have you taken the antibiotics the doctor prescribed? Yes. Dr. Patel said the infection won't harm the baby as long as it's treated. Arjun's jaw tightened. Small mercies, I suppose. As darkness fell over the city, Mira lay in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling. Her phone had finally stopped buzzing after she blocked Raj's number. The baby kicked, a strong movement that made her place her hand on the spot. It's just you and me now, little one, she whispered. But don't worry. We're going to be okay. In the other room, unknown to Mira, Arjun was making calls. To his lawyer. To a private investigator. To a friend who worked at Raj's company. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. No one hurt his little sister and got away with it. Tomorrow, Arjun's plan would begin. Morning light streamed through the unfamiliar curtains of Arjun's guest room. Mira blinked awake, momentarily confused by her surroundings. Then yesterday's events came rushing back, the doctor's office, the diagnosis, Raj's confession, the hasty departure from her home. She placed a hand on her swollen belly, feeling her daughter's gentle morning movements. At least I still have you, she whispered. A soft knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Arjun entered, already dressed in a crisp button-down shirt and slacks, carrying a tray with toast, fruit, and herbal tea. You need to eat, he said, setting the tray on the bedside table. Doctor's orders. Mira managed a small smile. Since when are you a doctor? I called Dr. Patel this morning, he admitted, sitting on the edge of the bed. I wanted to make sure the medication was working and that you're getting proper care. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. You're my little sister and that's my niece in there. He nodded toward her belly. How are you feeling? Mira sighed, pushing herself up to a sitting position. Physically? Fine. The medicine doesn't have any side effects. Emotionally? I feel like I'm drowning. Arjun nodded, his expression somber. That's understandable. But you're not alone in this, Mira. I've taken the day off to help you figure things out. You didn't have to do that either. Your company can survive without me for one day, he finished firmly. You're more important. As Mira sipped her tea, Arjun hesitated before speaking again. There's something you should know. I've hired a private investigator. Mira nearly choked on her drink. You what? Before you get upset, hear me out. If you're considering divorce. I haven't decided anything yet, she protested. I know, but if that's where this is heading, you need to protect yourself and the baby. Raj controls most of your joint finances. You quit your teaching job when the pregnancy started showing complications. You're vulnerable, Mira. She couldn't argue with that. After her second miscarriage, they had decided it would be best for her to leave her stressful position at the elementary school. Raj had assured her they could manage on his income alone. Now that decision left her financially dependent on a man who had betrayed her. What exactly is this investigator doing? She asked warily. Just gathering information about Raj's affair, how long it's been going on, if there are others, and documenting his financial activities over the past few months. Mira stared at her brother. You think he's been hiding money? Arjun's expression darkened. Let's just say I've seen enough divorces among my colleagues to know that men like Raj often start moving assets around when they're living double lives. The thought made Mira's stomach turn. Had Raj been planning to leave her all along? Had the past 3 months of his affair included preparations to abandon her and their child? I trusted him completely, she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I gave him access to everything, the inheritance from mom and dad, my savings, everything. Arjun reached out and squeezed her hand. That's why I'm helping you get ahead of this. My lawyer is coming by this afternoon. Don't you think that's moving too fast? We haven't even talked about reconciliation. Arjun's eyes narrowed. Reconciliation? Mira, he cheated on you while you're carrying his child. After everything you've been through to have this baby. People make mistakes, she said weakly, though the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. A mistake is forgetting your anniversary. This was a calculated betrayal that put both you and your baby at risk. Arjun stood up, pacing the room. You don't know what I know yet. Mira set her cup down. What does that mean? Arjun hesitated, then sat back down with a sigh. My friend at Raj's company called me this morning. Lisa didn't just happen. She was specifically hired 3 months ago for a project Raj is leading. He personally requested her transfer from the branch office. The revelation hit Mira like a physical blow. This wasn't some impulsive mistake or moment of weakness. Raj had deliberately brought this woman into his workplace, creating opportunities to be with her. He planned it, she murmured, feeling numb. All of it. I'm sorry, Arjun said gently. I know this is painful, but you need to see the situation clearly. Mira nodded slowly, a new resolve hardening within her. You're right. I do need to protect myself and my baby. She looked up at her brother. When did you say your lawyer was coming? By late afternoon, Mira had learned more about divorce law than she ever wanted to know. Arjun's lawyer, Priya Sharma, was a sharp-minded woman in her 40s with a reputation for handling high-profile divorce cases. Given the circumstances, we have a strong case for sole physical custody with generous visitation rights for your husband, Priya explained. His infidelity during your pregnancy, especially resulting in a health risk to you and the baby, will not look good to a judge. I don't want to keep my daughter from her father, Mira said, uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. Of course not, Priya assured her. But we need to establish boundaries and protections from the beginning. If you decide to proceed with divorce, we'll file for temporary support immediately so you can maintain your standard of living during the pregnancy and after the birth. As Priya outlined more legal strategies, Myra's phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. She excused herself to answer it. "Mrs. Kumar? This is Dr. Patel's office calling with your test results." Mira gripped the phone tighter. "Is everything okay?" "Yes, everything looks normal. We just wanted to let you know that we received Mr. Kumar's test results as well. He also tested positive for chlamydia, which confirms the source of your infection." Mira closed her eyes. Part of her had been holding on to a tiny, irrational hope that somehow the test had been wrong, that there had been a mix-up at the lab. But this confirmation extinguished that possibility. "Thank you for letting me know," she said quietly before hanging up. When she returned to the living room, both Arjun and Priya noticed her expression. "Bad news?" Arjun asked. "Just confirmation that reality is exactly what we thought it was," Mira replied, sinking back onto the sofa. The doorbell rang, and Arjun went to answer it. He returned moments later with a thin man carrying a briefcase. "Mira, this is Dev Singh, the private investigator I mentioned." Dev nodded politely to Mira. "Mrs. Kumar. That was fast," she remarked. "Your brother made it clear this was urgent," Dev replied, opening his briefcase. "I have some preliminary findings I thought you should see right away." He laid several photographs on the coffee table. Mira reluctantly leaned forward to look at them. The first showed Raj and a blonde woman, Lisa, presumably, entering a hotel. The timestamp showed it was from just 2 days ago. Another showed them having dinner at an upscale restaurant Mira and Raj used to frequent. A third showed Raj handing Lisa a small gift bag outside her apartment building. "These are from the past 3 weeks, Dev explained. "Based on my investigation, the relationship appears to have been ongoing for at least 3 months, possibly longer." Mira felt a fresh wave of pain. While she had been dealing with morning sickness and doctor's appointments, Raj had been taking another woman to their favorite restaurants, buying her gifts. "There's something else," Dev continued, pulling out a folder. "I took the liberty of looking into Mr. Kumar's financial activities." He handed the folder to Priya, who flipped through it with a practiced eye. "He's been moving money," she confirmed, looking up at Mira. "Small amounts at first, then larger sums over the past month. He's established a separate account that you don't have access to." Mira felt dizzy. "How much?" "Just over $75,000 so far," Dev answered. "All moved from your joint savings." The money they had been saving for the baby's future, for a larger house in a better school district, for the life they had planned together, Raj had been systematically draining it away. "When did the larger transfers start?" Arjun asked sharply. Dev pointed to a statement. 4 weeks ago, there was a transfer of $30,000. "That's right after our 20-week scan," Mira whispered. "When we found out we're having a girl." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. Once they had passed the highest risk period of the pregnancy, once they knew the baby was healthy and developing normally, Raj had accelerated his plans, whatever those were. Priya closed the folder with a decisive snap. "This is exactly what we need. Mrs. Kumar, with your permission, I'd like to file emergency motions to freeze your joint assets and request temporary support." Mira looked to her brother, who nodded encouragingly. "Do it," she said quietly. After Dev and Priya left, Mira stood at the window of Arjun's penthouse, staring out at the city lights beginning to flicker on as dusk fell. Her hand rested on her belly, feeling the occasional kick from her daughter. "I can't believe he would do this," she said as Arjun joined her. 5 years of marriage. All the dreams we shared. All the pain we went through together with the miscarriages. Was any of it real? I don't know, Arjun admitted. But what I do know is that you deserved better. And now you have a chance to build something new, for yourself and your daughter. Myra's phone rang again. Raj's mother's number flashed on the screen. She had been ignoring calls from both her in-laws since yesterday. His parents are calling now, she sighed. They must be wondering why I left. You don't have to talk to them yet, Arjun reminded her. No, but I'll have to eventually. She stared at the phone until it stopped ringing. What if Raj has already told them some twisted version of what happened? What if they blame me? Then they're as delusional as their son, Arjun replied firmly. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You're the wronged party here. Mira wasn't so sure. In her in-laws' traditional worldview, a wife's primary duty was to keep her husband happy. They had already made subtle comments about her failure to provide them with grandchildren sooner, never mind that the miscarriages had broken her heart each time. The phone rang again. This time, it was Raj himself, calling from a number she hadn't blocked. He's using his work phone now, she said, showing Arjun the screen. Do you want to answer it? Mira hesitated, then shook her head. Not yet. I'm not ready. As if on cue, a text message appeared. Mira, please talk to me. I went to the doctor and got medication. I've ended things with Lisa completely. I made a terrible mistake. Our baby needs both parents. Let me come see you. We can work this out. Arjun read the message over her shoulder and scoffed. Classic. He only ended it because he got caught. He's right about one thing, Mira said softly. Our daughter does need both parents. She needs parents who respect each other, Arjun corrected. Not a father who betrays her mother and puts her health at risk. Another text came through. I love you. I've always loved you. Please don't throw away our family because of my mistake. Mira turned off her phone and set it face down on the table. I need some time to think. Arjun nodded. Take all the time you need. But remember, the lawyer is filing those motions first thing tomorrow. I know. Mira rubbed her temples, feeling a headache coming on. I think I'm going to lie down for a bit before dinner. As she walked back to the guest room, Mira felt the weight of decisions pressing down on her. The future she had planned, the family she had imagined, was crumbling around her. Yet somewhere in the rubble, she needed to find the strength to build something new. For her daughter. For herself. And tomorrow, she would have to face Raj again, as Priya had suggested a meeting to discuss the legal proceedings. Arjun had insisted on being present, and Mira was grateful. She would need all the support she could get. As she lay on the bed, Mira wondered what Raj was doing right now. Was he truly remorseful, or just panicking at the thought of losing half his assets in a divorce? Was he mourning their marriage, or already making backup plans with Lisa? And most importantly, could she ever trust him again? The baby kicked, a strong jab that almost made Mira smile despite everything. Whatever happened with Raj, this little one was counting on her to make the right decisions. And for the first time, Mira realized that might mean fighting for herself as hard as she had always fought for others. The law office of Sharma and Associates occupied the entire 32nd floor of a gleaming downtown high-rise. Mira sat in the conference room beside Arjun, trying to ignore the churning in her stomach as they waited for Raj to arrive. Are you sure you're up for this? Arjun asked, noticing how she kept rubbing her belly nervously. Priya could handle it without you. No, I need to be here, Mira replied, smoothing down her maternity dress. I need to look him in the eye when he explains why he betrayed our family. Priya Sharma entered with a stack of folders, her assistant trailing behind with a pitcher of water and glasses. Mr. Kumar just arrived in the lobby. He's brought his own attorney. Arjun raised an eyebrow. That was fast. Men like your brother-in-law always have lawyers on speed dial, Priya remarked dryly. Are you ready, Mrs. Kumar? Before Mira could answer, the door opened, and Raj walked in with an older man in an expensive suit. Seeing Raj after 3 days apart sent a jolt through Mira, a confusing mix of anger, longing, and grief. He looked terrible, with dark circles under his eyes and his usually immaculate appearance noticeably disheveled. His gaze locked with hers immediately, a silent plea in his eyes. "Mira. Please take your seats," Priya interrupted smoothly. "We have a lot to discuss." Raj reluctantly sat across from Mira, while his lawyer introduced himself as Vikram Malhotra, a senior partner at one of the city's most prestigious firms. "Before we begin," Vikram said, "my client would like to state for the record that he hopes for reconciliation and believes this meeting is premature. Your client gave my client an STI while she's 7 months pregnant with their child," Priya countered. "I'd say this meeting is overdue." Vikram shot her an irritated look. Marital difficulties are common, especially during pregnancy. They can be worked through with counseling and good faith efforts on both sides. "Marital difficulties?" Arjun interjected, his voice dangerously low. "Is that what we're calling a 3-month affair that put my sister and her unborn child at risk?" "Mr. Patel, with all due respect, you're not a party to this marriage," Vikram replied. "He's here as my support person," Mira spoke up, finding her voice. "And I want him to stay." Raj leaned forward. "Mira, please. Can we talk privately? Just you and me?" "There's nothing you can say privately that you can't say here," she replied, surprising herself with how steady her voice sounded. "Fine." Raj ran a hand through his hair. "I'm sorry. I made a horrible mistake. I've ended things with Lisa completely. I got treatment for the infection. I want to come home and take care of you and our baby. While you were carrying on with your colleague, you were also systematically moving money from our joint accounts," Mira said. "That doesn't sound like a mistake. That sounds like a plan." Raj's expression faltered. "What? I don't know what you're talking about." Priya slid a folder across the table. "Bank statements showing transfers totaling $75,000 over the past 3 months, with the largest transfers beginning after Mrs. Kumar's 20-week scan confirmed a healthy pregnancy." Vikram quickly flipped through the documents, then whispered something to Raj, whose face had gone pale. "Those transfers were for our future," Raj insisted. "I was setting aside money for the baby, for a college fund." "In an account only you can access?" Mira asked incredulously. "Without telling me?" "I wanted it to be a surprise," he claimed weakly. Arjun snorted. "Like your affair was a surprise?" Priya continued methodically. "We've filed motions to freeze all joint assets pending further proceedings. We're also requesting temporary support for Mrs. Kumar's living expenses during the pregnancy and immediate postnatal period." "This is moving too fast," Raj protested, looking directly at Mira. "We haven't even had a chance to talk about what happened. I made a mistake, but I love you. I love our baby. Don't let your brother push you into destroying our family." Mira felt a flash of anger. "Don't blame Arjun for this. You destroyed our family when you chose to betray me, repeatedly, while I was carrying our child." "People make mistakes," Raj insisted. "A mistake is something you do once," Mira replied. "You had a 3-month affair that you deliberately orchestrated by bringing Lisa into your department. You risked my health and our baby's health. And you've been hiding money. Those aren't mistakes, Raj. Those are choices." The room fell silent. Raj slumped back in his chair, defeated. Vikram cleared his throat. "Perhaps we could discuss a temporary separation agreement instead of jumping straight to divorce proceedings? Give both parties some cooling-off time?" Priya looked to Mira, who nodded slightly. "We're open to discussing a separation agreement," Priya confirmed, provided it includes financial support and exclusive use of the marital home for Mrs. Kumar. "The house?" Raja's head snapped up. Where am I supposed to live? You seemed quite comfortable at Lisa's apartment, Arjun remarked coldly. Or perhaps the hotel you've been frequenting? Raja's face flushed. You had me followed? Of course we did, Priya said matter-of-factly, pulling out another folder. And we have documentation of your ongoing relationship, including these photographs from 2 days ago. As the lawyers continued negotiating terms, Meera found herself studying Raja's face, the face she had loved and trusted for 5 years. He looked genuinely distressed, but was it remorse for hurting her, or simply fear of the consequences? May I speak with my wife alone for just 5 minutes? Raj asked suddenly. Priya looked to Meera questioningly. After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. 5 minutes, Arjun agreed reluctantly. We'll be right outside. Once the others had left, Raj moved to the chair next to Meera. Please don't do this, he said softly. I know I hurt you terribly, and I will regret it for the rest of my life. But we can get past this. For our daughter. How? Meera asked simply. How can I ever trust you again? How can I know you won't do this again when things get difficult? Because I love you, he insisted. Lisa she was just an escape. Things have been so intense with the pregnancy after the miscarriages, and I was scared. I dealt with it in the worst possible way, and I hate myself for it. You were scared? Meera repeated incredulously. I'm the one carrying this baby after losing 3 others. I'm the one who quit my job because the doctor said stress might cause another miscarriage. I was scared too, Raj. But I didn't betray you. Raj hung his head. I know. I have no excuse. What about the money? She pressed. Why were you hiding it? He hesitated. I was thinking about leaving, he admitted finally. Not permanently. I just thought I might need some time away, a break from all the pressure. The money was for that. The honesty, when it finally came, hurt more than his lies. So while I was planning our daughter's nursery, you were planning your escape? I was confused, he said. But seeing you walk out that door with Arjun, it woke me up. I don't want to lose you or our baby. Meera placed her hands protectively over her belly. You already did, she said softly. The moment you chose her over us. Before Raj could respond, the door opened, and Priya poked her head in. Time's up. As the others filed back in, Meera felt strangely calm. Something had settled within her during that conversation, a clarity she hadn't had before. I've decided, she announced before anyone could speak. I want to proceed with the separation agreement, with the understanding that we'll revisit divorce proceedings after the baby is born. Raja's face showed equal parts relief and disappointment. So there's a chance? I don't know, Meera answered honestly. Right now, I need to focus on having a healthy baby. I can't make any promises beyond that. The meeting wrapped up with preliminary terms for the separation. Meera would have exclusive use of their house, Raj would provide financial support, and he would have supervised visitation with the baby after birth. Both agreed to attend counseling, separately for now, and revisit the terms in 3 months. As they prepared to leave, Raj approached Meera one last time. May I? He gestured toward her belly. I haven't felt her kick in days. Meera hesitated, then nodded. Raj placed his hand gently on her stomach, and as if on cue, their daughter gave a strong kick. She knows her dad, he said, his voice breaking. She needs her dad to be a better man than you've been, Meera replied quietly. Remember that, Raj. Back at Arjun's penthouse, Meera sat on the balcony, watching the sunset paint the city in golden hues. The meeting had drained her emotionally, but she felt stronger than she had in days. Arjun joined her, handing her a mug of herbal tea. How are you holding up? Better than I expected, she admitted. Seeing him was hard, but it also helped me see things more clearly. Do you think there's any chance of reconciliation? Arjun asked carefully. Mira considered the question. I don't know. Part of me still loves him, the him I thought I knew. But another part of me can't imagine ever trusting him again. You don't have to decide anything now, Arjun reminded her. That's what the separation is for. I know. She sipped her tea thoughtfully. I'm going to move back to the house tomorrow. Arjun looked surprised. Are you sure? You're welcome to stay here as long as you need. I'm sure. That's my home, mine and the baby's. Besides, I need to start getting the nursery ready. She'll be here in less than 2 months. I'll help you, Arjun promised. Whatever you need. Mira smiled gratefully. You've already done so much. I don't know how I would have gotten through this without you. That's what big brothers are for, he said, squeezing her hand. As darkness fell over the city, Mira thought about the days ahead. Moving back to the house that she and Raj had shared would be difficult, filled with memories both beautiful and painful. But it was also the first step in reclaiming her life, in deciding what she wanted her future to look like, with or without Raj. Her phone buzzed with a text from Raj. Let me know if you need help moving back to the house. I can arrange movers. She typed back, thank you, but Arjun is helping me. Please respect the terms we agreed to today. His response came quickly, I will. I'm starting counseling tomorrow. I'm going to become the man you and our daughter deserve. Mira didn't reply. Words were easy, actions would tell the true story. And right now, she needed to focus on her own healing rather than his promises. The baby kicked again, a reminder of the little life depending on her to make the right choices. Don't worry, she whispered to her unborn daughter. We're going to be okay. No matter what happens with your dad, you'll always have me. And your Uncle Arjun. Tomorrow would bring a new chapter, moving back home, reclaiming her space, preparing for her daughter's arrival. And somewhere in that process, Mira hoped she would find the strength to forge a new path forward, whether that included Raj or not. The future was uncertain, but for the first time since that fateful doctor's appointment, Mira felt ready to face it head-on. The house felt different as Mira walked through the front door. It looked the same, the familiar furniture, the photos on the walls, the throw pillows she had carefully selected, but it felt hollow somehow, as if the foundation of home had been shaken. Arjun followed behind, carrying her suitcase. Are you sure you want to stay here alone? I could sleep in the guest room for a few days. I appreciate that, but I need to get used to being here by myself, Mira replied, running her hand along the back of the sofa. Besides, you live 15 minutes away. I'll call if I need anything. She made her way upstairs to the master bedroom, pausing at the doorway. She and Raj had shared that bed for 5 years. Now the thought of sleeping there alone felt strange, but not as strange as the thought of him with Lisa in some hotel room bed. I had the cleaners come yesterday, Arjun said, setting her suitcase down. They changed all the linens and gave everything a deep clean. Mira smiled gratefully. Her brother had thought of everything, down to washing away any trace of Raj's presence from their bedroom. Thank you, she said softly. For everything. I've also had the locks changed, he added, handing her a set of keys. Just to be safe. Raj wouldn't just walk in, Mira protested weakly. Arjun raised an eyebrow. The man who's been hiding money and sleeping with a coworker behind your back. I wouldn't put anything past him right now. Mira couldn't argue with that logic, even if it hurt to think of Raj as someone she needed protection from. After Arjun left, promising to check in later, Mira wandered through the rooms of her home. In the kitchen, she found the breakfast dishes Raj had left in the sink the morning of her fateful doctor's appointment, just 4 days ago, though it felt like a lifetime. Upstairs, the door to the nursery stood slightly ajar. Mira hesitated before pushing it open. The room was half-finished, pale yellow walls, a white crib assembled in the corner, boxes of unopened baby gifts stacked along one wall. She and Raj had been planning to complete it together this weekend. Tears welled in her eyes as she imagined what should have been, the two of them laughing as they assembled furniture, arguing good-naturedly about where to hang the mobile, Raj lifting her gently away when she tried to move something too heavy. Instead, she stood alone in a half-finished nursery, 7 months pregnant and separated from her husband. Her phone buzzed with a text from Raj, "Just checking to make sure you got settled in okay." She typed back a simple, "Yes, thank you. Do you need anything from the store? I could drop it off, wouldn't come in, just leave it on the porch." The offer was tempting, her ankles were swollen from the day's stress, and the thought of going shopping was exhausting. But accepting felt like opening a door she wasn't ready to open. "No thanks. I'm fine." "Okay. I start counseling tomorrow at 10. I'll let you know how it goes, if you want." Mira didn't respond to that one. She wasn't sure she wanted to know. That night, sleeping in their bed alone was harder than she expected. Her pregnant body needed extra pillows for support, and she'd grown used to Raj's warmth beside her. The baby seemed restless too, kicking and shifting more than usual. "I know," Mira whispered, rubbing her belly. "Everything's changing. But we'll adjust." In the morning, she woke to the sound of her doorbell. Looking out the bedroom window, she saw a delivery person setting down packages on the front step. As soon as they left, she went downstairs to investigate. The first box was filled with groceries, fresh fruits, vegetables, yogurt, and all her pregnancy cravings. The second contained baby items, the mobile they had planned to buy, a diaper caddy, and newborn clothes. A card tucked inside read, "I know you said you didn't need anything, but I thought these might help. The receipt is in the bag if you want to return them. Raj." Mira stood on the porch, staring at his neat handwriting. It was such a Raj thing to do, practical, thoughtful, yet somehow missing the point entirely. Groceries and baby supplies couldn't fix what had been broken between them. Still, she carried the boxes inside. The food was useful, and the baby would need clothes regardless of what happened with their marriage. Later that morning, her doctor called to check on her. "The antibiotics have cleared the infection completely," Dr. Patel assured her. "How are you feeling otherwise?" "Physically fine," Mira replied. "Emotionally? I'm taking it day by day." "That's all you can do," Dr. Patel said kindly. "And the stress of the situation?" "I'm managing. We've agreed to a separation for now, with decisions about divorce to come after the baby is born." "That sounds sensible. Remember, your priority right now is a healthy delivery, which means managing your stress and taking care of yourself." After hanging up, Mira decided to tackle the nursery. Physical activity would help clear her mind, and the room needed to be ready in less than 2 months. She started by unpacking the remaining boxes, sorting tiny clothes into dresser drawers, and arranging stuffed animals on a shelf. As she worked, her phone rang. It was Neha, Raj's mother. Mira had been avoiding her calls, but she couldn't put this off forever. "Hello, Neha," she answered cautiously. "Mira, beta, what is happening?" Neha's voice was tight with distress. "Raj says you've thrown him out of the house. In his condition." Mira frowned. "His condition? The poor boy is devastated. He made one mistake, and you're destroying your family over it." The familiar feeling of being manipulated by her mother-in-law washed over Mira. In Neha's eyes, Raj could do no wrong, and any problems in their marriage had to be Myra's fault. "Neha, with all due respect, your son didn't make one mistake. He had a 3-month affair while I'm pregnant with his child. He gave me an STI that could have harmed the baby. These things happen in marriages," Neha insisted. "My own husband, Raj's father, had his indiscretions, but I was strong enough to look past them for the sake of our family. Mira felt a wave of sadness. Was this the example Raj had grown up with? A father who cheated, a mother who tolerated it in the name of family? I'm not you, Neha, Mira said firmly. And times have changed. I deserve a husband who respects me and our vows. So you'll deprive my granddaughter of her father? Make her a child of divorce? No one is depriving anyone of anything, Mira replied, keeping her voice level despite her rising anger. Raj will always be her father. But right now, I need space to decide what's best for both me and the baby. Neha made a dismissive sound. This is your brother's influence. Arjun never liked Raj. This has nothing to do with Arjun, Mira said. This is between me and Raj. After several more minutes of Neha's attempts to make her feel guilty, Mira managed to end the call. She sat heavily on the rocking chair in the nursery, feeling emotionally drained. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Arjun. How are you holding up? Your timing is perfect. Just got off the phone with Raj's mother. Apparently, I'm a heartless woman destroying their family. Want me to come over? Mira considered it. No, I'm okay. Just tired. Have you eaten lunch? She realized she hadn't. Not yet. I'm sending food. Don't argue. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang again. This time, it was a delivery driver with bags of food from her favorite Indian restaurant. Despite everything, Mira smiled. Between Raj and Arjun, she certainly wasn't going to starve during this pregnancy. As she ate the butter chicken and naan, her phone buzzed with another text from Raj. Just finished my first counseling session. It was hard, but good. I'm beginning to understand how selfish I've been. I know words mean nothing right now, just wanted you to know I'm trying. Mira stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Part of her wanted to believe he was genuinely changing, another part remained skeptical. Eventually, she typed, I'm glad you're getting help. After lunch, Mira continued working on the nursery, assembling a bookshelf and hanging curtains. Physical activity helped keep her mind occupied, though her back protested after a while. As she sat in the rocking chair to rest, she noticed a photo on the shelf, she and Raj on their honeymoon, arms around each other, laughing at something off camera. She remembered that day perfectly.